Rajat Sethi, coming to you first. The intervention by the Union Home Minister and the fact that the Union Home Minister decide to spend certain amount of time and days in the northeastern state point out to the gravity of the situation. The state has already backtracked from the agreement that was reached in 2008. Now, the centre has given a dire warning that if the armed groups don't mend their ways, then the centre can also backtrack from that entire settlement that was reached between various sides, between these armed groups, centre and the state. Whatever the Home Minister has done so far, the outreach that has happened, what the state government has done, is it enough to start the process of reconciliation and political normalcy? Rajat.
Well, Anusha, I think it's definitely, everybody in Manipur was waiting for the Honorable Home Minister to come in and be that neutral arbiter, to come in and try to find a common ground. And he ensured that he meets the shelter homes of the Kuki refugees who've been, moved away from their houses, as well as the Meitei community, Meitei people who've been, pushed away from their villages. So he ensured he went to all possible districts, all possible areas where there was conflict, and then based on his neutral assessment and assessment from his advisors and his security team, he ensured that, the future roadmap is laid forward. He has asked for 15 days. He has ensured that in these 15 days, if both the communities decide to lay down their arms, which is of paramount importance, if they lay down their arms, there will be common ground, common discussion platforms between the civil societies of both the Kuki community and the Meitei community. They can sit together and address their grievances. If the violence continues, if, for instance, the Kuki militants, continue staying away from their camps with wielding their weapons and, hiding in the jungles, then the violence will continue. Similarly, if the combing operations are not done in the valley and the weapons which have been snatched from the police are not returned back to the police, the violence will continue.
Exactly.
So if there is violence, there can be no peace whatsoever. And I think he has carefully, highlighted that this is of most importance. Second is that he has given directions that the border has to be sealed. He recognizes that illegal migrants is a very important issue and that has to be handled head on. He has ensured that in a time-bound way, the Myanmar border would be fenced.
Right.
Another thing that he said is that anybody violating the terms of the suspension of operation, he was pointing out at the Kuki militant groups that anybody who is wielding weapons and going against the letter and spirit
you rightly point out the various steps that the Union Home Minister has taken. And the Home Minister, even when he was addressing the press, I think one thing was very evident that the union government, the central government is very aware of the nuances and the sensitivities of the situation. These tensions are not new. They have simmered before the independence and have only, gotten worse with the time. It's only in the last few decades that we've been able to have certain degree of peace and normalcy. But Mr. Suhas Chakma, I'm coming to you. Right before the visit of the Home Minister, there were certain recoveries that the security personnel had made. In fact, there were reports that a huge security, threat was averted by the forces. There was a recovery of arms and ammunition that was made that were earlier stolen from the government, machinery and the headquarters. That only points out to the level at which these groups have got access to arms and ammunition, and the way the establishment is going to get it back. That's also something that we have to still figure out. Mr. Chakma.
I think it's childish to expect that somebody who have already looted the arms, they will return the arms.
Yes.
And there will be normalcy. Then if you are starting with the presumption, then of course, then you are absolutely on wrong footing. I think in this particular case, the critical issue is the trust. Whether the government of Manipur, headed by Biren Singh, has the trust of both the communities. And I think the Home Minister has made it very clear that Peace Committee will be headed by the governor of the state. It basically means the Chief Minister himself is not trusted. So I think what it will depend on is who is going to be the chairman of the Judicial Inquiry Commission, who is Chief Justice, retired Chief Justice. If he is somebody from Manipur, depends on which community, it again can backfire. So I think if you look at it overall, I think the step which the Home Minister could have fully taken, I think it fell short of. I think one particular issue which has not been addressed at all is the fact that there has been ethnic cleansing, not in literal sense that you have killed the people, but the areas have been cleansed. The Kukis are not in the Meitei areas, Meiteis are not in the Kuki areas. How are you going to build the trust? And that trust would depend on not necessarily.
Mr. Chakma, can I
with
make
the
an
rhetoric
interjection?
which
You rightly said that anybody who expects the weapons to be returned, I think that's something very foolish to expect. That cannot happen. I take that point. In the same vein, with the sort of history these two particular groups have had, a violent struggle history between the Kukis and the Maitis, is it really utopian to expect that there can be any degree of normalcy in the short to medium term? We don't know what will happen after decades, but right now it's only the intervention of the center on the state that can put a bandage to this kind of problem, sir. Would you agree?
Well, I think the center, of course, is the only acceptable arbiter in the whole process. I think where the problem is that the Home Ministry is looking at the political fallout if they take, say, for example, if they take away, the chief minister and have somebody who is more acceptable. If you look at it, all the Kuki MLS, they also belong to the BJP. And if you look at Biren Singh, he also belongs to the BJP. So it's an internal BJP problem. And so what the Home Minister has done is basically trying to find a way out, saying that governor will be head of the process. So you have taken cognizance of the problem, but, you have not gone to the full extent. But if you look at the history, there was no conflict between the Meiteis and the Kukis. If you look at it in 93, 94, it was between the Kukis and the Nagas. So there was no conflict whatsoever with the Kukis. And now you are trying to build a narrative that they are in influx, there needs to be NRC, there is poppy plantations. See, not one particular community is involved in it. So if you start vilifying a particular community, I don't think you are helping the narrative.
All right, Mr.